Hi there, it's Crystal, and this is going to be a Q&A about our trip. Some of you have left me some comments about questions you had, and then Marie gave me a whole bunch of questions that's kind of like a tag type thing, but I'm not tagging anybody because nobody else has gone on this trip. So anyway, I'm going to go through Marie's questions real quick, and then I will get on to some of your questions. And if you have more questions, go ahead and leave them below, and I'll do another video if I need to, or I will just try to answer them in the comments. So, Marie's first question is, which apartment was your favorite to stay in? And that definitely would have been the Rome apartment. It was ancient and just really cool, but it also had been renovated, so it had some nicer, bathrooms and things like that downstairs anyway. Upstairs, and like the 4-foot ceilings were just crazy, and it's just like building code differences between there and in the US are really different. What were you most excited to see / do once you got there? I was most excited to eventually get to Rome because I'm just really comfortable with that city, and I really wanted to take the kids around to all the different places and take their pictures. And most of all, I really wanted to do my picnic in the Doria Pamphili, that big park that I did a vlog of, and it was as special as I had pictured it to be, so that was great. What was the most unexpected thing you experienced traveling with kids? Most unexpected thing, I guess, was how accommodating and nice people were, and you know, the places were very unaccommodating a lot of times, but a lot of times we ran into people that were just so helpful. In the subway in Paris, a nice gentleman helped me with my, helped Ryan and I with our bags and helped me carry the stroller down the stairs and things like that. And I just didn't expect so many people to help us out like that. Most of the time, they had all said, oh, I have, little ones at home, or look at your little ones. And so it definitely was because of the kids. I don't think they would have helped as much if it was just Ryan and I lugging around all this luggage just for the heck of it. But because we had the kids, we definitely had some help in pretty much every city. So that was really nice. How did your body adjust to the jet lag while nursing a newborn? Unexpectedly, it wasn't a problem at all. We didn't really have a problem with jet lag on the way there. We had a night flight, and by the time we got settled in our apartment, it was pretty much time for bed anyway, and we were all exhausted, so we slept a good 6 or 7 hours once we got to London, and we were just ready to go from there. And Brady is nursing, still very frequently, so I didn't have any issues with, supply, supply is usually more in the morning and, things like that. It just didn't have an issue, so that was nice. No issue with that at all. What was the best meal you had over there? Best meal I had over there was probably from my favorite pizza place in Rome, and it's a pear and gorgonzola pizza with walnuts. So that's probably my favorite meal. Did anyone stop and chat with you about being American? We ran into an American in Starbucks in Amsterdam, and we talked at length with her, but that's the only time we talked to really at length with an American or talked to anybody about being American. So most of the time, we were so crazy to bring the kids, and because we lived in apartments and things like that, for the time we were there, we kind of just blended in for the most part, and I think a lot of people just thought we were locals, or we were living there for some reason. So we really didn't get a lot of like, oh, are you American? Blah, blah, blah. None of that really. What was the hardest part of the trip? The hardest part was definitely just the luggage that you need to bring with the kids. And we didn't have all that much. We had 2 suitcases, 2 carry-ons, and the stroller, and my diaper bag. And but still, that was a lot to lug around, especially in in London and Paris. The subways just have stairs a lot of times there's no elevators or any ramps to get down, so you're having to carry all that stuff up and down stairs many times. So once we got settled, it was better, but that was difficult. What was one of the highlights of your trip? One of the highlights was sitting on the bench with my kids and Ryan at the same bench under the Eiffel Tower where Ryan proposed to me in 2006. So, you know, just kind of see how far we've come. That was very special. What were you most excited to do once you got home? I was most excited, like most people, to sleep in our own bed. That was definitely something I was looking forward to after 3 weeks. And she says, did you miss us? And of course I missed you guys. We ended up not having Wi-Fi in Rome or Amsterdam, so I kind of had to say goodbye to Facebook and all that stuff, which in a way was good, but I fell behind on my videos, which was sad. I liked uploading them every day so you could kind of almost in real time see what we were doing. But, you know, I kind of caught up, so it was all good. So now I'm going to answer a few of your guys' questions. EKW111 wants to hear some tips and challenges about traveling with Elise. And Elise is so easygoing, she's just super easy. There's not too much we have to do for her. As long as she has a few activities to keep her busy while we're traveling, and that we're just accommodating to her naps and her grumpy times, she's fine. So, you know, we needed to have a little activity bag for her, which we did. We brought a tablet so she could watch some shows and play some games, and that was great for the flights. We bought her her own seat in when we were flying from, where did we fly? From Nice to Rome, and then Rome to Amsterdam. So that was great when we were flying economy. She ended up getting her own first class seat on the way to London from US, and that turned out great too because she could just sleep and hang out in her own seat, and that was great. Challenges, we had very little chances to have her have naps. And she's getting to the age where, you know, she'd fall asleep a little bit now and then in the stroller, but you know, we weren't gonna just go back and hang out in the apartment for 3 or 4 hours. You know, we wanted to see stuff. So that was a little challenging. It started adding up where she was getting pretty grumpy, and you could tell that she wasn't getting enough sleep. She was also staying up later. So that was a challenge, but any downtime we had, we tried to encourage her to take a nap. So she did take a nap in the stroller, and on the train, in the plane, you know, things like that. But a few days when, you know, we're just going out and seeing things, she, you know, you could definitely tell she was getting a little grumpier and had a short fuse. So that would be definitely a challenge, but not too much to share on that because she's just so easy. Mara Jason 1 asks tips for the long plane rides with kids. And that's kind of, oh, and then she said, did you have to book first class? No, we did not have to book first class. We were able to do first class because we used airline miles. There's no way we would have been able to afford even just 2 first class tickets. I think it was $8,500 a ticket, I want to say. I think. And that's just ridiculous. So we used miles for the whole thing. So it was, you know, free. We had to pay $600 for each kid. As a free lap kid. That was like their surcharge or whatever. Yeah, so you do not have to buy first class, no. But it makes it a lot easier. You have more room. If you're going to have, you know, lap kids, you have just more room in first class. They're a little bit more accommodating. They'll bring you snacks and things for the kids for free. They're always checking up on you, and that's not really the way it is anymore in economy. So if you can swing it, it's the way to go. Also, if you get first class, you get to stay in like the Sky Lounge or the fancy schmancy lounges they have that first class passengers get to go into, and there's tons of free food there. It's just a lot cleaner and more comfortable than waiting at the gates with everybody else. So if you can swing first class, do it. Okay. Yeah, and as far as longer plane rides with Brady, I just made sure he had lots of changes of clothes, and that I had a bottle for him on travel days, just because even though he's exclusively breastfed, there's some cases where it's just hard to nurse. We were just in the long tunnel waiting to get onto the airplane for like a half an hour. I don't know why they let us there, but he started getting hungry and crabby, and I was able to pull out a bottle and feed him that way instead of trying to nurse standing up and, you know, all that stuff. So that is a great tip, to have a bottle for travel days. Helen, our Grand Adventure, asks, what are your must-have items for traveling with a toddler and a baby? And I will insert those now. So my must-have items for the baby for traveling is my boppy. It's a pain to lug around when you don't need it, but it is totally worth it for the plane rides, train rides, where he's going to be in my lap. Made travel much more comfortable for both him and me. This is a sheet saver, and if you're traveling and staying in apartments like we are, you don't have room service. So if they're co-sleeping with you, you need to make sure you have something to protect the sheets, because you don't know if you can get them washed or if there's extra sheets. So that was a really good thing to have for if the baby was going to be in your bed. And then the thing that I could not have lived without at all with Brady is a Moby wrap. And he lived in that thing. And I had the Ergo as well. But wearing him for many, many, many hours a day, the Moby just became more comfortable for me. So definitely needed a baby carrier. He was much happier in that. And it worked really well. So for Elise, I actually say the Ergo for Elise, because we had our double stroller, which is another thing I had to have. We had to have the double stroller, but Brady actually wasn't in the stroller all that often. He just didn't like the stroller very much yet. So I had him, in the Moby. But sometimes when we wanted to go out for dinner and there was just no room for strollers, we decided to put Elise in the Ergo, and it worked so much better. We didn't have to try to fit the stroller through the door or store it somewhere in a busy restaurant. So the Ergo worked out great. And I'll insert a picture of the double stroller. And it worked out great. Even if we didn't use it as a double the whole entire time, having the double feature made it have a lot more storage. So that was really helpful being out and about. Usually 8 to 10 hours a day we were out of the house. So having that extra storage space was awesome. So I didn't have to carry anything on my person. 2300 Hours asks for some good and successful non-perishable lunch/snack items, and I'm not a great help on this one. We brought some things like granola bars and crackers and fruit snacks and things like that, but most of the times we were always able to go to a grocery store and get a little kind of snacks/lunches for the kids, or Elise and us, yogurts and apples and little sandwiches and things like that. So we really didn't have to do anything special for that. A lot of times when we knew that we were going to be really long ways without opportunity for getting food, we just stocked up on your normal traditional things that Elise likes. She also asks, how did you get organized as far as finding all those places you stayed at? Was it through a travel agency or were they private rentals? And that was neither really, but we did Airbnb.com. So basically people list their places up for rent for your stay. And it was a great experience and opportunity for us. Staying in an apartment has definitely its advantages and disadvantages. The advantages with the kids is that you can cook. You can buy groceries and you can cook. So you don't have to go out every meal. I mean, if you're gonna want to pull your hair out, I think if you have to go out every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with 2 kids, that's a lot of work. So being able to cook and buy your own groceries not only saves money, but just saves your sanity, really. So we pretty much would only eat out, 1 meal a day. So if we were out and about, we'd eat lunch out, and then I'd cook dinner, or we'd, come back to the apartment for a quick lunch, and then we would have a dinner out. So that's kind of how we did it. Saves money, saves, your sanity. So that's worked out really well for us. So Airbnb.com. And I think it's Little Becca 06. Sorry if I say that wrong. She wanted to know what are the steps we took to pay for this trip. And traveling is really important to Ryan and I. And so we have a travel fund that we budget into just like anything else. But a huge help actually was some of you guys for our trip. My YouTube money went towards our trip, and fortunately that silly little cake tutorial made a nice little chunk of change. So we were able to put that towards our trip, as well as doing the air miles. So that paid for a large chunk of the trip, and our travel fund that we just regularly put money into paid for the rest. So I just recommend, if traveling is important to you, I'd look into ways of getting airline miles. We put a lot of things on cards and pay them off on time, but so that we can get lots of mileage paid for, and then just, budget as you can into your travel funds. So that's how we paid for the trip, and it's definitely worth it. Ryan and I are big into experiences and not stuff, so we'd much rather put money into our travel fund so we can have, lifelong memories made instead of, just stuff. That is the questions I have had from you guys. Let me know if there's any more. And I apologize, this is all over the place, but I tried to answer as best as I could. And if anything else needs to be cleared up or you want more detail, let me know. Talk to you guys later. Bye.